Galilee. What is it today? Let's see. We're on the 6th, I think. I don't know. I can't read this watch in the light here. Let me see what this is. Uh, yeah, we're on the 6th. It's about 8:34 in the morning on the 6th of June. It's already feeling warm in here today. Well, it's not though. It's 73 outside. That's odd. And it's showing 91 as the high. That'll be probably borderline air conditioning. And it stays around this range for the next 10 days. Actually, lower, it goes down into the 80s. Okay, what we're going to talk about is the war lit up again last night. Okay, with Iran threatening U.S. ships, attacking Oman, destroying an oil refinery or an oil storage facility. I think it was a refinery. Attacking Kuwait and Bahrain again, hitting American bases, and America striking them. What ceasefire? You call this a ceasefire? I mean, click. Let's go into reality. That's a ceasefire to you. Why do the people believe these leaders like Netanyahu and Trump? How could this be a ceasefire? It's a limited warfare, but that's not going to stay limited. And the White House and the Pentagon got some cockamamie idea to send special forces in to get the enriched uranium, and we'll talk about that, and we'll talk about the fighting last night. And then we're going to go into something we haven't done in a while. We're going to go into some in depth spiritual warfare on some of these leaders. It's about time we lit up again. I'm going to try a little different approach with you on this, but you'll love it. Oh, you'll love it. And then we're going to do Isaiah 13 and 14 from the Codex Sinaiticus, which is basically an assemblage of the remaining fragments and particles of the Septuagint, which was done in roughly 250 BC, before Yeshua came to Israel. They say came to Earth. I'll say came to Israel. That's where he stayed, in Israel. Okay. Uh, and I got to have my fun too, right? And um, the AI found another way to do it for me, like taking the Old Testament and combining it with the methodologies that Salkinson and Ginsburg used in the Hebrew New Testament. This is highly technical. So I did it both ways. I did it the regular way. We would do it from Codex Sinaiticus with secular sources used to translate the Greek words. So we don't have any bias from different church denominations. Opinions. One says this means this, another says this, another says that. So rather than get into that, we just go to the secular. And then it also gave me from the comparison from the Hebrew Masoretic text, which I trust as far as I could throw the Eiffel Tower. And we'll look at that. I didn't even bother reading that yet, so we'll read it together. It'll be the first time I read it. We'll see what it looks like. And there we go. That's what we're gonna get going on today. And the government of Israel gave another dirty blow below the belt to the Israeli people. Oh, they're so awful. I'll tell you what they did. Don't worry. Okay. I think there are enemies at this point. The way they behave, and I'll show you their lies and what they're saying and why it's not true. Okay. So let me jump into the live stream. Remember, amongst other things, guys, I have a master's in business administration that I got many, many years ago. So I know the same junk they do. I had courses in stocks and bonds and finance and production and management and all this. I've had this, I see through this garbage, and we'll go through it. And I'll go through it in a way that I believe you'll understand it and you'll see what they're doing. And I want to inspire you to really lay the spiritual warfare on them. But we're not going to go like we did in the past. We're going to play end game with them. They want to play, in other words, they want to play house with us with taxes. Well, we'll burn it down spiritually. Let's get rid of the whole thing. Just the whole thing. Let's not try to save it. Let's not try to get them corrected. Let's try to get rid of the whole darn mess they have. Okay. And that will certainly encourage Zechariah 12. All right, let me get my post up there, which is a quick process. And double check my typos. 4 typos, which I do not have. Let me pin this. And I believe it's good. And people are coming in. And that's it. The offerings are really down on. I used to get, well, from another source, Patreon, but that fell down now about 70%. I discerned there's some Satan bots that were donating to me to try to be friendly with me, and they're gone. That's part of what I'm discerning. The other thing is the economy's bad for people too. But we're going to talk about what they've done to the Israeli economy and what they're continuing to try to do. And then we're going to talk about what we're going to do. And we have the keys to the kingdom, they don't. Okay. And we're going to use those keys against these bums voraciously. Okay. I'm going to do some praise now, being a Bible believing site, Old and New Testament, and I have no control over anybody joining in or not joining in. There is no God like Jehovah. 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 There is no Messiah like Yeshua. 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 So excited, I can't wait but to get to the spiritual warfare part, but let me go through the news because this is really important stuff and it has prophetic implications that run deep and we need to deal with it. We really do. We got to watch and we got to know what's going on. We can't just, hey, we're just going to do Bible studies while the world burns. We can't. We got to pay attention to these things. And my rat trap iPad's spinning on me. Junky thing. It's just wore out, I think. where my notes started now. It's my fault, not iPad. Wait a minute now. I think there was a prayer request. Yes. Okay, I got the prayer request here. Let's do that. Pray for RG, Romeo Girl. RG, Romeo Girl. Pray for stomach cramps to be healed. I can pray, you guys can agree. My Heavenly Father, Jehovah, B'Shem Yeshua HaMashiach, I pray for RG, Romeo Girl, for healing for stomach cramps. B'Shem Yeshua HaMashiach. And you believers can agree with that. Mostly the people that are watching these videos now are believers. A lot of the others aren't coming around. They're not very interested in the war anymore. They've gotten conditioned to it, the Iranian thing and the Russia-Ukraine thing, and they're just not concerned with it. It's not interesting to them anymore, of course. It's been going on and nothing significant happened, so they just go about their merry way. Okay, CENTCOM says their forces shot down 4 Iranian one-way attack drones that were launched towards the Strait of Hormuz. The attack drones posed an immediate threat to regional maritime traffic. So you have to understand that Iran is attacking shipping and they could care less about the American blockade and Americans doing safe passage with their destroyers to help ships go through. They are going to attempt to control the Persian Gulf, and America could go bang their head against the wall. They don't care. All right? All right. The U.S. forces subsequently struck Iranian coastal surveillance radar, which I'm adding this in, likely came from China as a guess, in Goruk and on Kashem Island to defend against further attacks. Okay, so the Americans took out the radar. It's a very good move. American forces remain vigilant and postured to respond to unjustified Iranian aggression in self-defense. The Iranian aggression is illegal, unjustified, and cruel, and everything else. I agree with them. Okay. Today, for the third time, okay, that was the USS Truxtun and the USS Mason, which I believe are destroyers, got chased out of the Persian Gulf because the Iranians said they were there without their permission. So Iran wants every ship to get their permission in the Persian Gulf, including American warships. Do you understand what idiocy Trump is broadcasting to the world about a ceasefire? Do you see, if you live in America, you should think that if you're a believer, you should be dumping spiritual warfare on Trump every day and hoping they impeach him or something. Because this guy is trying to manage to run America based on lies. He who loveth and maketh a lie. Now, there's a massive difference between not revealing information, which is what America is famous for, compared to, what did I do with my water? Oh, here it is. Compared to lying, okay? Withholding information and just being silent is one thing, but the way he runs with the lies about the ceasefire and things are going well with Iran, we'll have a deal. You got a massive problem in America. This guy's going to wreck your country. Oh, a lot of people don't believe it, but he will. He loveth and maketh a lie. This guy just tells lies all day long. Why does he tell lies all day long? Because he believes in lying. That's why. That's why he does it. Okay? He thinks it's the way to go. You got a big problem there. You know, he got rid of, this is going to come up later regarding Israel, but you had an $800 exemption before Trump on importing goods. So you could bring something in from AliExpress for up to $800 and it wasn't taxed. Now it's taxed. You're paying these taxes. When he puts the sanctions on a company like China or a country, 50% tax, 20% tax, 30% tax, you've got to understand that that comes out of your pocket. You're paying it. He's increasing your taxes. And he does it in such a way that he makes you think it's a good thing. He's not your friend. Did he ever get rid of Obama healthcare, whatever the heck they call it, last term of office, like he said? No. Did he come in this term of office and fix it and clean it up? Oh, no. No. Where's your stipend? Remember that? Oh, this spring we'll have a stipend for you. He was threatening to get another. Him and Elon Musk go in and they're going to audit the Fort Knox, the gold. Do you think Elon Musk and Trump never found out what was going on there? If you believe that, I got a bridge that connects Washington, D.C. to the moon you should buy. Okay? They know. They're just not revealing it. At least they're not lying. At least they're not lying. But, guys, you got such a massive problem with Trump. You have no idea what you're dealing with. Most people don't. This thing with Trump is the end of America. I'm telling you, it's in the prophecies. This guy is going to kill the place. Okay? He doesn't have a clue. He listens to this mental midget Netanyahu about how to run wars. And these two transactional derelicts are trying to deal with Iran, and it ain't working. And Iran just got themselves sufficiently revived from the Israeli-American attack, and now they're starting up all over again. But if you think they didn't set something up to attack in America, on American soil, in the 48 states, or maybe the other states, maybe Alaska, Hawaii, I don't know, you don't understand the Middle East. There's a number of things they could have set up, okay? They attacked in Port Arthur, Texas, facilities for energy. These attacks likely came from ships they had in the Gulf of Mexico, now called the Gulf of America. Surprisingly, he didn't call it the Gulf of Trump. And I think he wants to call the Straits of Hormuz Trump Straits, He won't ever tell you that, okay? But that's what it looks like to most people that understand. And they're going to do it again, but they'll be better at it this time. And they'll do things in Europe too. These people are completely insane. And they see Trump as a conflicted loser coward. I'll say again. They see Trump as a very conflicted person. He doesn't know what to do. He's scared. He's a coward. He will attack, but then he stops attacking. They just see him as a loser, and he gets up there and lies constantly about the ceasefire. So they know they're dealing with somebody that ain't right in the head. Okay, who believes Trump's ceasefire lies anymore? The newspapers do, because they don't want to get cut off from news. But he ain't walking right. I don't think he's right in the head. Not at all. I mean, I'm telling you, I think he's loopy. Okay? Why would he think behaving this way is beneficial? There's no logic. It's illogical. When someone's illogical, they're nuts. Okay? Let's move on. The Iranian Navy announced it targeted the vessels, the two destroyers, with suicide drones and anti-ship missiles, forcing them to return back to the Sea of Oman. The U.S. denies these reports. So what happens, this is what happened. The Iranians say they attacked the ships and the ships got scared and left the Persian Gulf. The CENTCOM is saying no, but they did leave the Persian Gulf. What CENTCOM is saying is they didn't want to make a big incident, so they turned the American warships around, brought them out of the Persian Gulf, thus thereby submitting to Iran. Do I think that that was the case just because Iran threatened? No. I think CENTCOM's lying about that. Okay? Just like Trump lies about the ceasefire. All right? There were 3 blasts in Keshem Island, Hormozgan province, Iran. So the Americans were attacking. Okay. Why? Okay, but why is he saying Trump's cowardly when he's attacking? Because Trump is attacking in a way that he believes is not going to trigger a serious response from Iran. He's wrong, but he thinks he's right. This is like the 3rd time in recent days that this happened, okay? So what you have now is you don't have a ceasefire like the Donald is telling you. You have limited warfare going on, okay? Real warfare, but limited, okay? Like border conflicts, but not on a border like that, okay? Kuwait was attacked by Iran, missiles and drones. Kuwait air defense is kicked into gear, and I don't think Kuwait got everything knocked down, but they did get most of it. Okay, that's what it looks like. The general staff of the army is reminding people that these explosions you hear are the interceptors taking out the missiles and drones, and that is true. That is true, because we experience that. I experience that here all the time when there's wars. And remember, yesterday we heard that the Americans were putting warnings on tourism in Israel and, warnings to American citizens living here. So the Iranians were going after the U.S. bases in Kuwait. So don't think that they're just attacking the lunatics living in Kuwait. No, that's not exactly what was going on at all. They were hitting the U.S. bases there and in Bahrain, responding to U.S. airstrikes on Iranian military infrastructure on Qasem Island because the Iranians were presenting a threat to merchant marine shipping. The Americans went after them to shut that down, and then the Iranians retaliated by attacking the American bases in Kuwait and Bahrain. Bahrain is the big center of the Fifth Fleet, where they keep their naval vessels in the Persian Gulf area. Okay. Can you tell me that attacking American bases is not an act of war? I'd really like to hear an explanation for that. Now, there could have been additional airstrikes by America on the city of Sarek, Sarek, because I heard explosions there also. They heard them. People heard them. So it's possible America hit another target as well. It looks like it. So what the announcement, the big one from Iran, was that their navy surrounded the navy announced what navy, targeted the vessels with suicide drones and anti-ship missiles, forcing them to return back to the Sea of Oman that the U.S. is denying. I don't believe the U.S. Um, I would speculate that they're not keeping any Navy boats in Bahrain anymore, or any Navy boats that they care about, because they could get targeted. There was an explosion at the port in Oman, uh, and it got the refinery, likely from an Iranian drone attack. So the Oman is supposed to be, or we would be led to believe, on a friendly basis with Iran. They did try to serve as a negotiator at one point to bring some sort of settlement around, but it it can be that um, the Iranians are finished with Oman, because Oman is trying to get along with the U.S. or something in that realm, which would be enough to do it. Um, that would cause that kind of behavior. So um, it's a possibility that they've now put, Iran on the endangered species list. Not Iran, Oman on the endangered species list. Oman is a little nothing with nothing, just like Kuwait, just run by some dictators. It's a little fiefdom they got. They just live in their palaces with, you know, massive luxury, and that's all they do. And they have foreigners building their oil facilities, and then they export it, and they basically do nothing. Satan is enjoying that because it's Israel's land. So the Iranians said what they did do was fire warning shots at the two destroyers. They said they used Qadir missiles and Shahed drones. It sounds to me that they fired missiles and drones at the Navy warships and were unsuccessful. They could have had electric countermeasures, they could have had phalanx guns, they could have had anti-missile missiles, and all of the above. And the Iranians could have been bad shots. They withdrew to the outside Oman to get out of the way. Iran also claims the USS Tripoli amphibious assault ship was forced to leave the area too. Probably true. It's just too easy to, see if it's true. So it's probably true. And this is cowardice with Trump. Trump should have come back with an iron hand. He didn't. And that means the Iranians are going to do this again and again and then again and again. Okay? The Iranian Navy said if these U.S. ships return, longer range missiles will be used. So the Iranians basically are telling America what to do, and Trump is like the old woman who lived in a shoe and didn't know what to do. You got a real problem with Trump. Trust me, you got a real massive problem with this guy. China and Russia and North Korea are watching this. Okay? And China's sitting there spinning their wheels. Is this going to be, what'll happen in Taiwan? He won't do nothing, New subject, the Haredi, ultra-Orthodox riots erupt in Jerusalem and Bet Shemesh over arrest of at the Supreme Court justice's home when they were trying to break into his house. So they were trying to break into his house and do what to him and his house and his family, we don't know. But now they were mad that they got arrested for doing that. The ultra-Orthodox protesters attacked civilians outside Jerusalem. Lev Habira Station leaving one wounded. They hurt a civilian. They're fighting against civilians now, not just the police. Rioters hurled stones at police while the Salzburg home unrest fueled. Okay, this is the court guy. I don't know the current war in Israel. I don't bother checking these things, but it used to be back in the 90s, if they were going to throw a rock at you, you could use deadly force because the rock was considered deadly force. Okay? Now, what they often did to you is they gained elevation from a rooftop or something like that. And they used rocks like this. They didn't use rocks. They used a rock like that. And they would throw it down at you so it would have velocity from an overpass or something like that. And if you had a gun lawful, you were able to shoot at them and kill them. I don't know what goes on anymore. Hezbollah is continuing to fire missiles at Israel and drones. And Netanyahu said that if you continue shooting at Israel, we're going to go into Beirut. I believe boots on the ground. And that's the stronghold of Hezbollah, and that's their last stronghold. And that's where they got weapons and personnel and everything. And if we go in there, that's it for Hezbollah. Now, Hezbollah did say yesterday or the day before that they reject this ceasefire that America negotiated between Lebanon, the government of Lebanon, and Israel. So they have no interest in it. So they keep shooting missiles at us to show us that they're not involved in that. They have fired surface-to-air missiles at Israel aircraft, triggering alerts in Kiryat Shmona. The U.S. is saying talks may resume after June 22nd. I don't know what that's based on. I don't know where they got anti-aircraft missiles, and I don't know how serious they are either. They could have stuff that's 30 years old, you know, that could be all it is. I don't know. Or they could have these shoulder-fired anti-aircraft missiles that they smuggled in from Iran, or Iran gave them, or China gave them. Okay, let me tell you what this crazy delusional plan is that they're cooking up in the Pentagon. This is designed to get the 60% enriched uranium, which is not quite nuclear grade, but up there, close to it. There's 972 pounds, or a figure like that, in the 900 range, 900 something. It's over 900 pounds. That Trump calls entombed. In other words, a 30,000 pound bomb by a B-2 bomber hit this thing, and the mountain collapsed on where the uranium is. So you have to excavate to get it out, okay? Is Iran capable of doing an excavation like that themselves? 100%, yes. So they could get it out. The uranium is probably in some sort of hard container. Maybe the container broke, I don't know, but no idea. Trump has no idea. Nobody does. So Trump's got a new idea. Well, I mean, you must understand that because it has a mountain collapsed on it, it does not mean that the Iranians can't use heavy equipment and go in there and find it. They can, and they will. So Trump is announcing that he's going to do it. One theory is that Trump might have said that to encourage the Iranians to go in and rescue it or dig it out themselves. And then he could capture it from them. That's a pretty lame idea. I don't know if the Pentagon's that stupid. I don't think so. what he's cooking up is he wants to take, he's talking Delta forces. Delta forces are special forces from different branches of the service that are the top grade of the elite. So, in other words, they would probably have to have been in a regular special forces unit for probably 2 or 3 years at least, maybe 5 years, and they would have had to been operators out on many operations, missions, and with good ratings from their own special forces division, Navy SEALs, Recon Marines, whatever, right? Then they would have to do well on some testing they would run them through. So these people would have to be, they'd have to have very, very high scores on testing, like lots of things, communications, maps, weapons, everything, right? And physical fitness, marching with packs, running, all that. Obstacle courses, all the stuff, okay? Then they would have to want to join Delta, and most of them would. Then they would be in Delta. Uh, so they're the cream of the crop, okay? Cream de la creme. The special forces is the cream to start with, but this is, above and beyond them. Um, and he wants to them off of American ships about 1,000 miles away, which is where the Tripoli and the aircraft carriers are, and bring them on Chinook helicopters, which are big, long helicopters. They got two rotors and two engines, and they're not exactly a combat helicopter. They're used in combat, but they're not for combat. They're not designed to fight. They don't have the weaponry on that, okay? They're transporting. What are they transporting? Equipment, soldiers, supplies, that sort of thing, okay? Large amounts of it. So I don't know how many special forces he's looking at. Probably 30 or 40. I don't know. He wants to fly them in, and he wants to give them the heavy equipment to do the excavation. So, how many recon Marines know how to use the heavy drills and to go into mountains, with the bits to stick or something, and excavators and shovels, and they don't know that stuff. So they would have to train them. It would be relatively easy to train them. They'd probably train these guys on one piece of equipment in a week or two. It wouldn't be hard. The military has training for that. I mean, maybe it would take a month, but they train them. Okay. Um, then they fly the equipment in with these heavy helicopters that can carry big payloads. They fly them in, and then these guys are going to go to work and excavate, and they're going to be surrounded by hundreds of thousands of Iranian militia and soldiers are going to be near there, and they're going to move in on their position. They'll come at them with mortars, shoulder fired missiles like anti tank missiles, right? They'll come at them with artillery coming from mobile artillery, towed artillery, and regular tank artillery. They'll come at them with surface-to-surface missiles. They'll come at them with drones. They'll throw the kitchen sink at the special forces guy attempting to get the uranium. You have to understand that they're going to throw everything at these guys. I think it's a disastrous idea. And the other thing we don't know is how long it'll take them to get to the uranium. They may be able to detect the uranium and know where in the mountain it is to help give them precise planning for the excavation. But is this excavation, an hour and a half? Or is it 38 hours? Or we don't know. Do they know? I don't know. So the Marines or the Special Forces are there, and they're protecting the operators using the heavy equipment, okay? Now, with that, they could bring like 100 Marines in on helicopters, and they could take positions around the Special Forces to handle battles. But what are they going to do against drones, missiles, artillery, tanks, armored personnel carriers? What are they, nothing. There's no point in bringing infantry. What are they going to do? So what they would likely do is fly a number of jets, F-15s, F-16s, F-35s, the planes that come off aircraft carriers, okay, or the F-18s or something. They would get all of those guys, plus probably some attack helicopters, Apache or whatever helicopters, in the air all the time. So maybe they put 10 aircraft at all times over the heads of the Marines. And they keep everything 25 miles away, which stops artillery, it'll stop mortars, it'll stop shoulder-fired missiles, okay? All of that it'll stop. It won't reach. But what it won't stop is missiles and drones. So what do? They got these guys down there, and they got, a dozen or 2 dozen planes flying around, and when they run out of gas, another group comes and they go back and they land or they refuel or whatever. And anytime there's a unit that's moving towards these special forces, they come in and bomb them or strafe them with guns, or fire missile rocket pods from under their wings and kill them. So they create a circle of maybe 25 miles that no real forces can get into. And before the special forces come, they could sanitize that 25-mile circle by killing whatever's in it. So that type of operation can only go for so long. They're not going to run that for a week, I don't think, but maybe they'd run it 24 hours or something like that. I don't know. But I think they probably believe they can get into that uranium quickly, in a few hours. Because what are they going to do? Tell the special forces, okay, you work 20 hours in a row, go take a break, go to sleep for 6 hours. They're not going to go to sleep. Trump said he doesn't want to be like Jimmy Carter. Jimmy Carter, what he's referencing is 1980. Jimmy Carter sent 8 special forces soldiers into Iran on some mission on the ground, and they all got killed. And the mission never got started. And that's what he's trying to do. So Trump might be saying, it's a nice proposal they came up with, but I don't want to be Jimmy Carter. I'm not doing it. Or he might have said, it's a nice proposal they're coming up with, but I got to examine it extremely carefully because I don't want to be like Jimmy Carter. I don't want these guys getting killed. Jimmy Carter didn't make arrangements to have a bunch of American planes flying overhead all the time. The model for this would be when the F-15 pilot was down, they were flying planes around him day and night, lots of them, to keep him alive. And they created a sanitized area where the enemy couldn't get in without getting blown up. So there you have it. That's what Trump might do. I don't know. Is this a harebrained scheme? Maybe. I don't believe too much in this nuclear bombs and all that at all. But anyway, what Trump might be using this for is an exodus. I'll explain. Trump is a completely unreliable, non-trustworthy, lying president that lies through his teeth. Okay? And it appears he enjoys lying more than telling the truth. So every time he talks, Iran's not going to have a nuclear bomb, not going to have a nuclear bomb, not going to have a nuclear bomb. He doesn't talk about Iran's not going to build thousands and thousands of missiles and attack Europe and America and Israel with them. He doesn't care about that, does he? No. He doesn't seem to talk anymore about how they kill and torture their own citizens who want to get rid of the mullahs. No. He doesn't care about that, does he? No. So all he's doing is playing the nuclear card. So he could go send them in and get the uranium either truthfully or just bring a bag out and say, take a magic marker and write in Farsi, the Iranian language, uranium. I mean, he could lie about that. Okay. And then all he has to do is say their nuclear facilities are destroyed. They got no spent uranium. I'm not going to be sitting here anymore. I'm telling my military to go home. Then Iran will be 99.9% convinced that Trump is just into full cowardice mode and it presents no threat to Iran. And they'll start trying to conquer probably boots on the ground, Kuwait, Bahrain, Qatar, UAE, Oman, Saudi Arabia, and Jordan. And they'll control the oil and break the back of the world with oil. I don't think that's going to happen. I don't think Trump's going to get his way. I don't think Iran's going to get their way, and I think it's going to end up pretty bad. America and Israel are negotiating basically a mutual defense thing. They're trying to escalate this from America just giving Israel weapons to a complete partnership thing. That would mean if America gets attacked, Israel would have to help America. This Netanyahu's such a piece of dirt, Okay, so there you have it. What's likely to happen is the war is going to escalate, okay? And it's just going to get higher, more hot and hot. And then eventually Trump may actually begin fighting for a couple of weeks like he did in the past. He says that Iran is down to 22% of their missiles, which he said is still a lot. I don't know if that's true or not. It could be, but I don't know. Israel didn't say anything. So I'm not buying it yet. I don't know. But there's a lot of missiles there because Iran is completely confident that they can drive America out of the Middle East right now. And I know the prophecy in, Jeremiah 49, and it ain't going to work. So that's that. Okay. So I told you that we had, and just give me a second here. I think Beulah's doing the Gettysburg Address again. She likes doing that. Just remember what comes after Jeremiah 49, Jeremiah 50, and then 51, the destruction of the daughter of Babylon. Okay, remember that. All right. So let me get it back on my notes here. The Knesset in the last day or two or so changed the VAT, the tax exemption on imported goods. Originally, there was $75. In other words, if you imported goods valued at $70, evidenced by the invoice, $75, you didn't have to pay tax. Smotrich, our economic minister, who's ultra right wing, who Netanyahu's not friends with, really, they don't like each other. He said that the supermarkets had like doubled or tripled their prices during the war, and their cost of goods sold did not go up accordingly, so there was no reason for it, and Netanyahu's apparently stopped them from doing anything about it because of corruption, I assume. I can't prove it, but I assume it was corruption. So Smotrich never would have announced it unless he was intending to do something about it, and that was stopped. So what he did is they passed the bill raising the $75 exemption to $150 as a stimulus package to help recover from the war economically. So when they did that and the Knesset voted on that, they came to the conclusion that this would help the economy. Now, I told you I have an MBA. I understand the same junk they do. Why would it stimulate the economy? Because they could bring goods in without paying. Look, there's goods that I've bought in Israel over the years with I can buy them in other countries for 1/3 or 40%, maybe slightly more than a third of what they sell them for in Israel. And then when you get finished paying the tax and the shipping, you're down to about half the price of what they sell them for in Israel. They're rotten retailers. They're rotten. They're crooked as a dog's hind leg, and they bleed the Israeli public dry. They squeeze every penny they can out of the poor Israeli people. They're Satan bots. Okay? They're Satan bots. The big retailers, they're Satan bots, and they bleed everything they can out of the Israeli people. They hear, let me squeeze everything. No mercy on these people. That's how they operate, okay? They push it as high as they can. So what should have happened is they should have had an exemption of $500 or $800 like America had, something like that. But no. The retailers, when they first tried to do this a few years ago, all of a sudden out popped the Retailers Merchants Association and they lobbied Congress. Think corruption. I said think. I didn't say I could prove it, and I'm sure of it. I said think corruption, and the Knesset knocked it down. We're back to the $75. Okay? Understood? All right. Now, they raised it to $150 at the end of February. Today's early June. It went on for about a few short weeks, and they reduced it from $150 to $130. Okay? These dirty rat Satan bots lobbied again, corruption, the Knesset to do it. And the Knesset doesn't care about hurting 9 million people. They're going to help a few hundred Satan bots get what they want. As proven by their actions. Okay? They just dropped it again from $130 back to $75. These dirty rat retailers probably want to bring it down to nothing so they can gouge us more. Okay? But let me tell you something. When you do this, what happens is you're freeing the economy up. The people have more money in their pockets to spend. These retailers are, you're not talking 10, 20%. You're talking 200%. They're dirty rat dogs with what they do. Okay? Horrible, horrible, horrible people. Horrible people. Okay? When I say I could buy something retail for a third the price, I'm a onesie buyer. I buy one of them. These rats in the retail business could go to the same countries and buy 144. They could buy a gross and they'll get it 25, 40% cheaper than me. So in reality, they're quadrupling. They're probably tripling or quadrupling the price of their profits. If they just doubled it, okay, that's what retailers do. But they don't just double it. They take it up higher and higher and higher and higher. They're rotten to the core. And Netanyahu and the Knesset love them. So that means they hate the people. Am I wrong? That means they're corrupt. Like happened in Rome. They're corrupt. They worry about the rich and let the poor go drop dead. Am I wrong? You're helping a few hundred people that own these big retailers. The guy that has a little store that goes back 25 feet and it's 10 feet wide, that's not the guy. You know, he's selling little items here and there. That's not what we're talking about. We're talking about the guy that has 25, 50, 60 stores in Israel. Okay? That's the Satan bot crook we're talking about. Okay? The mall owners, want to support the, these are the crooks. Okay? And they're not crooks. They're nasty, rotten Satan bots. Okay? That's what they are. And every Satan bot, by definition, is nasty, rotten, lying piece of garbage. Bitter fruit. You can't do anything with it. You got to throw it away. Okay? And they are, this was just a low blow. $150, I'm sure Smotrich didn't want that. Smotrich probably wanted $300 or $500. You see, it would free the people from the grasp of these rotten, mean retailers that do price fixing. Netanyahu doesn't really prosecute price fixing. They do price fixing. So you don't have a chance. There's no free competition. Price fixing's illegal, but have I been seeing Netanyahu prosecuted? No. All the supermarkets went up about 300, they went up huge prices during the war, and Netanyahu doesn't do a thing about it. And Smotrich investigated it and said there's no reason for it. You can buy things like an electric razor in other countries for a third of what they sell them for in Israel, roughly. You can buy little radios that way. You could buy a ton of things that way. They're no stinking good. Okay, that's the deal. It would, if the people didn't were able to buy the stuff overseas cheaper, a lot cheaper. They would have more disposable income. And what are they going to do with that disposable income? They're going to buy something else. Are they going to buy something else overseas? Guys, you're very limited in what you can buy overseas. You can't buy a car and have it shipped here. You got to go to a dealer in Israel, okay? But you're not going to buy a sofa. You know, you're going to buy a sofa over there in, I don't know where in Europe. You know, it could cost you $800, $1,200 to ship it. That doesn't work. That kind of stuff you can't work with, okay? Um, a lot of electronics you're going to want to buy either in Europe or in Israel. And a lot of the stuff in Europe is not so cheap either, because the European country pays taxes on it. So you have to be very clever, and you have to buy it in a country that it's made. Like I came across some magnifying glasses that are world class. The guy's name is Schweitzer in Germany. I wouldn't buy it, it's too expensive. It's used for somebody that's like in electronics industry or medical or something. That's probably electronics, that's manufacturing, not medical. And he has to have a very, very, crisp, a magnifying glass where the image that gets magnified is very crisp because he's looking for things. Okay. Um, they're very expensive. If you try to buy them outside of Germany, they're super expensive. But if you go into Germany and buy them from somebody in Germany, they don't have to pay the taxes to bring them, say, from Germany to England or something like that. Okay, but I don't think they're worth it for me because I could get, you're talking magnifying glasses for $200. That's crazy. I could get good ones that work for me for $11, with a light in there. And yeah, I'll show you one I carry around when I need it. I'll show you that. I think this was about $11. I think the Carson is the name of the company. You got it like this, and you slide it, and it has a LED there, and this is 5 power, which is pretty high. When you buy the standard Amazon junk and they tell you 10 power and all that stuff, they're lying to you big time. You can't have a magnifying glass at 10 power like this. It would be like this, okay? Because you can't get it that big. It's just not going to work. And if you're trying to use it to read, you're going to, at most, in a 10 power, see 1 or 2 letters at a time. You can't use it for reading. It has to be for something technical, So they lie to you, and most of the time when you're told that you got a 10 power magnifying glass and they sell them for $10 on Amazon, that's about what they sell them for. They put weak LEDs in them, and the weak LEDs don't cut it, and they don't have any real power. They're like 2 power. You know, they tell you 10. You know, take something and look at it, adjust the range, and you look at it, it's maybe 2 power. You know, so so anyway, I'm just trying to say you can buy the stuff. You got to go in the country it's manufactured in. If you go to Europe, with Europe you got lower freight because it's closer. When you start crossing the Atlantic, it gets expensive. So, make a long story short, these guys are horrible, horrible. Okay, where you see price fixing is the supermarket chains are the worst. Okay, I mean they hate us. They hate the people of Israel from the top of their head to the bottom of their feet by what they do with the quality and everything. And oh, they're terrible. They really are. They used to take goods that came from foreign countries and sold well in Israel. They would make a copy of it in Israel because it would be greater profit margins for the supermarket. And because he could go to the company and say, "Here, make this for me and I'll buy it from you." So it's like a joint venture and he's not paying any import tax because it's made in Israel. But they would reduce the quality usually by 50%. So it would remotely resemble the European or the American goods, but never anywhere near as good. And then they would drop the foreign goods, which were high quality, tasted good, more good. No, they drop them and give you the crap that they had made in Israel, the junk that they intentionally made cheap. Not that Israel can't make good food, they can. Their chocolate, it really runs neck and neck with Swiss and Belgian chocolate, no doubt about it, okay? So they could do it when they want to. Their yogurt, there are a lot of things in Israel you can get that are good. But these people intentionally don't want high quality, they want low price. But they want it to look like and act like the foreign goods and maybe spend a tiny bit more to make it taste a little better. So they get rid of you enjoying foreign goods because then you start realizing the private label garbage they make in Israel is garbage and it's done intentionally, not that Israel can't make it good. They don't want it good. They want it cheap. They hate us. Do you understand? They hate us. What they do to us is sick. With the price fixing, why are they all charging these high prices? You know, it's horrible. You know, you go to all these supermarkets, the fruit and the vegetables are terrible looking at high prices. We get charitable fruit and vegetables, and they're much bigger and tastier and healthier and better than what you see in the supermarket. Now, maybe if you go to Jerusalem and Tel Aviv, they got high end supermarkets that are even way more the heck expensive, you know. These rotten supermarkets fix the prices in the area. So if you go to Haifa, you're going to pay one price. Okay, if you go to Bet Shemesh, you're going to pay another. If you go to Jerusalem, another. Tel Aviv, another. Depending on the competition, they try to squeeze everything they can out of you. Okay? And there's no government to stop them. So if they reduce the VAT, the people would get the goods a lot cheaper, and I'm talking half price. With the shipping and taxes added in, you'd be paying about half price. They'd have a freer income. And the stores are afraid, well, they'll just go back and buy more stuff from overseas. That's a concern. That could happen, but it's probably not going to be that big of a deal because what they're going to do is they're going to buy things like more food in Israel. The buying overseas and bringing it in here doesn't apply to food. I mean, a little bit, but most food won't ship here. You can buy garlic powder, you know, condiments will ship here. Um, Popcorn in the plastic bag you put in the microwave, you could get that a little bit sometimes. But not much stuff ships here, okay? It doesn't, and you're going to put You can't get frozen food. You can't get fresh food shipped here. And if you start shipping canned food here, you might be able to do that. But you know how expensive that's going to be with the weight, with the water in there. It doesn't work. Doesn't work. Clothing. They don't sell a lot of good clothing here because if they did, with their profit margins of 3, 4 times the price, you'd have to be a millionaire to buy anything, you know? So they buy junky stuff. Yeah, it's just a terrible situation, guys. It really is. It really is. And Netanyahu is anti Aliyah and always has been. And what he's doing, and do you think Satan's pro Aliyah? Let's have the Jews come to Israel. We need more Jews in Israel. He doesn't want that. Okay. The other thing is when, you know, the Russians that came in here, they're not really voting for Netanyahu. They're not that bad. They see things, you know, but it's really tough. Okay, so now they took it back to the $75 level, and they are probably gonna. I don't know. I don't think the Knesset is gonna drop it below the $75, but they might try to. Your friend Donald Trump reduced it from $800 to nothing in America. What a guy. He hurt you very bad in America. Now because I'm going to do a spiritual warfare campaign with you, let's talk about a few things. If you compare gross wages before taxes in Israel, Israel does not look terrible, but it doesn't look good either. So you can be deceived about the economy in Israel, but I am going to rip that deception off your, from covering up your eyes with that, because I'm going to spell it out to you. What they're not telling you is Israel wages are lower than the other. Okay, Israel has an 18% VAT, which is a sales tax and an import tax. Other countries in Europe go up to 20, 21, 22%. But what they don't tell you is the wages over there are 10, 15, 20, 25, 30% higher than in Israel. Okay? So yeah, their VAT is 2 points higher, but their wages are way the heck higher. Okay? The housing costs in Israel are crippling. This is that garbage bucket, Netanyahu and his gang. Crippling, crippling, crippling. Okay. The vehicle prices. You got 83% tax on a car plus 18% VAT. 101%. Let's say 100% on a car. You go out and buy a car, you got 100% tax. What a piece of garbage government to do that. Okay? What would you think would happen in America if Trump tried to put 100% tax on Chevrolet, Buick, F-150s and stuff like that? People would go burn the White House down. It'd be horrible, okay? They've got the people indoctrinated here to put up with it. They shouldn't put up with it. We pay about $2.50 to $3.50, depending on the price of gas. $2.50 to $3.50, not shekels, dollars, for a gallon of gasoline in taxes. In taxes. What would they do in America if that ever happened? They'd burn the White House down. And then add in the fact that they could get away with their price fixing and their insane consumer prices here. this, when you put all this together, this is what's making the Israeli public poor. This is why you have 30% of Israel running around with food insecurity. My stinking iPad just did something and I don't know what it did. Hold on. This thing's just a piece of junk. I don't know what happened. You just tap the screen and you could have a catastrophe with this old piece of junk. All right. Where am I? I gotta find out where I am. Yeah, okay, I think we're okay. So you have to combine, when you look at what's going on in Israel, the income tax. If you're making any kind of money in this country as an employee, okay, any kind of money, not have to be rich or anything like that, you're paying 50% taxes, income taxes. Now in America, if you had $2.50 to $3.50 tax on your gas, 100% tax on your car, 50% income tax, and 18% sales tax, would the White House be standing? Israelis typically spend about 27 to 30% of their household income on housing. It's roughly 20 to 24% in Germany, 13 to 22% in Norway, 21 to 24% in Denmark. Okay, let's just establish it's really stinking high. Combined with the high taxes, combined with the lower wages, you're getting the idea. It's horrible. And Netanyahu won't lift a finger to fix it. The Knesset won't lift a finger to fix it. They're Satan bonded. That's how Satan's trying to correct the problem with Israel in his favor. Get the Jews to just leave, except Satan bots. He doesn't mind a Satan bot Jew, not at all. Now, not only are these percentages of tax high, the average wages are lower in Israel. You got to understand that. So you got 27, 30% going on housing. Then the Israelis are spending 16 to 18% of their household budget or income on food and non-alcoholic beverages. So you got on rent and food, you're at about 45% of their income, their net income after tax. But they lose half their income on taxes. So what I'm telling you is in other countries, taxes could be high, but the cost of living isn't that high, and the amount of money they make is higher. So the blow that they suffer is considerably less. Okay? I'm going to run another set of numbers for you in a minute. Well, I already did it by telling you the percentage they buy on food. The food costs more. So let's try to get rid of this government, okay? I don't mean get rid of Netanyahu and then we have another one just like him. What's the point of that? That's Satan's game. That doesn't get anybody anywhere. That just keeps Satan in power. So what I would like you to do, and I'm not going to do this in the agreement way because that's, I want you guys to do spiritual warfare that I'll suggest to you in a moment. Every day. Now, you'll be doing it at different times of day. Some of you do it in the morning, the afternoon, the night. And it's going to keep working. But I want to keep this extremely simple so you guys do it. Okay? I want it simplex and it's going to be effective. Okay? What you do is you say, I command all you unclean spirits to depart from every person that's an elected official in Israel in any capacity, okay, and employed by the Israeli government in any capacity. I command you unclean spirits to depart from these people and every member of their household immediately, never to return unto them again. B'Shem Yeshua HaMashiach. That's it. That's it. Simple. And I'll say it again. B'Shem Yeshua HaMashiach, my heavenly Father, Jehovah, I'm sorry, no, in the name, okay, I got lost. B'Shem Yeshua HaMashiach, I command every unclean spirit to depart from every elected official in Israel and everyone who works for the Israeli government in any capacity, as well as every member of their household. You unclean spirits immediately depart from all these people, never to return unto them again. B'Shem Yeshua HaMashiach. That's it. Now, you'll do this at different times a day. We have several hundred of us, okay? But the views are down, the offerings are down. We still have several hundred of us, okay? Maybe 600, okay? We need to, you just pick your time of day whenever you want to do it. Just do it once a day. If you want to do it twice a day, better. But if you do it once a day, it's enough. It is. Because there's other people doing it during the day. So what am I trying to do? The idea is boom, 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 boom. We're hitting them at different times of the day. So the unclean spirits go in them, then they go out of them. Okay? Now, what about the unclean spirits running them without being inside the people? That we can deal with, but let's try this. I don't want to start getting it complicated. I want to keep it simplex. Okay, these signs shall follow them that believe in my name. They shall cast out devils. That's it. Geographic distance means nothing. Okay, this is it. That's all you got to do. Okay? Do this once a day. Now, I'll tell you what happens. The unclean spirits will stop going in the person. It may take a week, it may take a day or 2 or 3, but they will stop going in. Then they will try to manage the people by not being inside them. Okay? But I don't want to make a complicated spiritual warfare campaign because then we're going to wind up with maybe 15 or 20 people doing it. This way it's very simple. Hundreds will do it probably. And then to keep getting the demons throwing out of them in random times a day, very quickly, the demons are going to stop going in these people quickly. What happens then is, they may try to communicate with them from outside, but there's going to be overthrows. Other people that have their demons, because they're not in the government, are going to try to overthrow these people, and there's going to be a lot of turmoil. Okay? Now for prayer. Okay. My Heavenly Father, Jehovah, B'Shem Yeshua HaMashiach, I don't pray, Lord, that we have a better government with this democracy, or better people, or we get rid of Netanyahu and get better candidates. They're all going to be bad. Democracies are always no good. We pray for your people, your leaders, the judges, to run Israel fast, quickly. It's torturous living with these people. So we pray for the two witnesses to be running Israel as soon as possible. B'Shem Yeshua HaMashiach. That's it. Don't pray for different leaders. Don't pray for different. You don't want a democracy. Democracy is a scam. You could vote for the political person of your choosing, but they're always going to be a Satan bot because the regular people don't run. They don't have the money. They don't have the connections. It's never going to happen. So it's run by money, okay, and corruption, and that's why we don't want it. Okay, you can tell the Lord it's just corrupt. He knows it. Don't bother, let's get rid of Netanyahu, get a better candidate. That's all nonsense. You got to get rid of the democracy. God's got to run the place. Now, when you see the problem in Zechariah 12:10, with them surrounding the country of Israel and all the borders, it's very likely, because there is no more democracy running Israel. And that's why Satan wants them to do this. There's some bad problem for the Satan bots, and that would be Elijah and Enoch running the country. They want to get rid of them. Of course, there's a lot of countries turning against. You see, when you have a satanic run Israel, they're not that worried about it. But when that goes away, they're very worried about it because they know what's coming. Add into it Elijah training the Levites to make the offerings acceptable unto the Lord, and there you have it. Would this government let Elijah train the Levites to make the offerings acceptable unto the Lord? Assuming to do that, we would need a temple or a tabernacle, right? And it would have to be in Jerusalem at the right location. Would the government let them do that? The answer is obvious. I don't believe so. So we don't read anything about this government in place in Zechariah 12, do we? Not a thing. We don't read anything about the Israeli Defense Forces. Not a thing. So let's move forward, just like with the translation. Let's move forward. This is different than the translation. The translation's a translation. This is different. Okay. I don't know where the translation's going to come from. Maybe Apostle John has it. Maybe the Anointed Prince has it. Maybe it's buried somewhere and we find it. Maybe it's with the tabernacle. It's in there. I don't know. I don't know. I don't know. So please do the spiritual warfare, and we'll get you. Remember, this is your home. This is where you're going to be living. So let's get the show on the road. Unless you enjoy living in your country you're in now, with democratic psycho idiot laws where you could go to jail for criticizing or mocking or being derogatory to somebody that commits a lifestyle sins that the Lord said will send you to the lake of fire. I'm going to take a break for a minute. We'll get into the translation. This is a bread they sell. It has olives, cheese, a little bit of sauce. It's served cold. It's like a retarded pizza or pizza bread or something. It's pretty tasty though. I see things starting to come together, the translation, getting rid of this government. Trump actually going, I think, insane. Okay. So I'm going to do Isaiah 13 from the Codex Sinaiticus, which is the segments of the Old Greek, which is the Septuagint that have been recovered over time, and the scribes copied it into a book and put them together, and they call it the Codex Sinaiticus. There's another one called Codex Vaticanus, nothing to do with the Catholic Church. They stole the word. The Catholic Church came after. These things were assembled around the years 300 to 400 AD. But you're basically reading the Septuagint that was done by the Jews, the rabbis, before Yeshua by about 250 years, taking the Hebrew and putting it into Greek. They were taking the Hebrew not from the Masoretic text, from the text, the real text. Okay. The vision which Isaiah, son of Amos, saw against Babylon. Raise a signal upon a level mountain. Lift up the voice to them. Do not fear. Beckon with the hand. Open the gates. You rulers, I'm in verse 3. I give the command and I lead them. They are sanctified. I lead them. Giants are coming to fulfill my wrath. I don't know about the giants, but okay, that's what it translated. Rejoicing together and insulting. A voice of many nations, a voice of kings and nations gathering together. The Lord of Shabbat has given a command to a weapon fighting nation. They come from a land far away, from the uttermost foundations of heaven. The Lord and his weapon fighters to destroy the whole inhabited world. That's verse 5. We better check the King James here. Not that I think the King James is great, because I don't, but I want to see what the King James says. Isaiah 5. No. Isaiah 13, verse 5. They come from a far country, from the end of heaven. Even Jehovah and the weapons of his anger, indignation, to destroy the whole land. The word is hieretz, so it could mean it could be not translated so great. It could be the land, Israel. I don't know. Now, the giant thing, back up in verse 4, one verse previous, the noise of a multitude in the mountains, like as of a great people. That's the word they gave us as giant. Let's check it out. The word for great in the Hebrew is 7227. It seems to be a size quantity thing. It generally are considering it to be a large number. Somehow the translators seem to think it would be great. A giant. I don't think the giant is the best translation. See, you have to always monitor what's going on with the AI. Now I know what's going on. And it made a bad decision, okay? Okay, verse 6. Wait, for the day of the Lord is near, and destruction from God shall arrive. Because of this, every hand shall go limp, and every soul of man shall grow faint-hearted. And the ambassadors shall be troubled, and pangs shall seize them. Like a woman in labor, there we are, huh? Travail. And they shall mourn. A woman in labor is a woman in travail, same thing. And they shall mourn, each to the other, and they shall be amazed and they shall change their countenance like a flame. For behold, the day of the Lord comes, incurable, full of wrath and anger, to make the whole inhabited world a wilderness, and to destroy the sinners out of it. For the stars of heaven and Orion and the celestial host of heaven shall not give their light. Okay, that's the giveaway. Okay, that's not Zechariah 12:10. That's Ezekiel 38:39. That you find that in Joel 2. That's the end of the rebellion. Okay, that's the great day of the Lord. Often called Gog and Magog. And it shall be darkened as the sun rises, and the moon shall not give her light. Zechariah 12:10. The stars are not affected. The sun goes dark and the moon turns to blood. This is 70 years after that. This is when Yeshua is going to return to earth. And I will command evils upon the whole inhabited world and upon the ungodly. You see, this is when the Lord made Yeshua's enemies his footstool. So Psalm 1, what is this, Psalm 110:1? The Lord said to my Lord, sit thou at my right hand until I make your enemies your footstool. Well, the enemies now have been made a footstool, so now Yeshua doesn't have to stay at the right hand of God the Father. He can come back. 11. And I will command evils upon the whole inhabited world and upon the ungodly their sins, and I will destroy the insolence of the lawless, the arrogance of the proud I will humble. These are the great falling away, in Israel and around the world. They're just, evil. They're going with the beast and the false prophet and stuff. And those who are left behind shall be more precious than the unrefined gold, and a man shall be more precious than the stone that comes out of Soupher. It's Ophir, I think, in English. So there's not going to be a lot of people left. Okay. For the heavens shall be enraged, and the earth shall be shaken from its foundations because of the wrath of the anger of the Lord of Shabbat, the day when his wrath shall come upon it. Verse 14, and that's Isaiah 13, verse 14. And those who are left behind shall be like a fleeing roe. A gazelle is a roe is a gazelle is a roe. Okay. And like a straying sheep, and there shall be no one to gather them, so that a man shall turn back to his own people, and a man shall be pursued to his own country. For whosoever is caught shall be overcome, and those who gathered together shall fall by the sword, and their children they shall dash to pieces before their eyes, and their houses they shall plunder, and their wives they shall have. Well, we read about this in Zechariah 14, plundering the houses, raping the women and stuff, right? We don't read about the children getting killed in Zechariah 14. but it seems to be a similar passage. But remember, those that are grievous of all the sins being done in Jerusalem get a mark, probably the name of God, on their forehead, and nothing bad happens to them, and they remain in Jerusalem, and nothing bad happens to them. That's found in Ezekiel 8 to 11, and also Zechariah 14. I stir up against you the Medes who do not reckon silver, nor have they need of gold. The bows of the young men they shall shatter, and your children they shall not pity, nor shall their eyes spare your children. And Babylon, which is called glorious by the king of the Chaldeans, shall be even as the manner God overthrew Sodom and Gomorrah. Now it's telling us that the DOB, I believe this is the daughter of Babylon, it goes. It shall never be inhabited for all time. The old Babylon was in Iraq, and is Iraq inhabited now? Yeah, even where the old Babylon was, they have museums and monuments and little towns, and I don't know how many people live there, but it's certainly inhabited. Nor shall they enter into it for many generations, neither shall Arabs pass through it. Well, they're certainly living in Iraq. Nor shall shepherds rest in it, and wild beasts shall rest there, and their houses shall be filled with howling. That's mourning. And and sirens shall rest there, and demons shall dance there. That's DOB, USA. And I can't understand this word here. Hold on. Centaurs, whatever that is. Oh, it's a donkey centaur. I don't know where this is coming from. Shall dwell there, and hedgehog. It must be some sort of a donkey thing. We don't know what it is. It's not a half-human donkey. That doesn't exist. And hedgehogs shall rest in their house. Swiftly it comes, and shall not delay. Okay. Now let me see if I can find this where it was. Hold on. All right. Well, it's like it's just a piece of junk. It says in this translation, it did put the word giants and monsters in there, but I got another from AI, a different translation, where that's not really in there. But what happened to it, I don't know where it put it. But I would say those words are not too correct. Um, Now, this is a different translation it did on Isaiah 13. I'll read it what it's telling me it did. It did it in the Salkinson style. This translation mirrors how Salkinson would present the text, restoring the classical Hebrew idioms, poetic parallelisms, and monotheistic natural vocabulary of the Masoretic text rather than the Hellenistic uh, mythological. You see how the first one where we got the giants and the mythological animals is because it was going into secular sources. So this is a different way. I go through it quickly with you. The burden of Babylon, which Isaiah the son of Amos lift up a banner upon the high mountain instead of a flat mountain. Exalt the voice unto them, shake the hand that they may go into the gates of the nobles. I have commanded my sanctified ones. I have also called my mighty ones. For mine anger, even them that rejoice in my highness, the noise of a multitude of the mountains, in the mountains, like as of a great people, a tumultuous noise, the kingdoms of nations gathered together. Jehovah of hosts mustereth the host of the battle. So he's bringing them together. They come from a far country, from the end of heaven, even Jehovah and the weapons of his indignation, which is anger, to destroy the whole land. Jeremiah 30, verse 11. I will destroy all the nations I scattered the Israelites into. But this could be destroying the whole land. It could be something different here. Could be the whole earth translated. Okay, let's keep reading. Howl you, for the day of Jehovah is at hand. It shall come as a destruction upon the destruction from the Almighty. Therefore shall all hands be faint, and every man's heart shall melt, and they shall be afraid. Pangs and sorrows shall take hold of them. They shall be in pain as a woman that travaileth, giving birth, labor. They shall be amazed one at another. Their faces shall be as flames, red. Behold, the day of Jehovah. See, this is the Gog and Magog, the day of Jehovah. Cometh cruel, both with wrath and fierce anger, to lay the land desolate. He shall destroy the sinners thereof out of it. Probably the land of Israel, but could be the world out of it. For the stars of heaven and the constellations thereof shall not give their light, and the sun shall be darkened in its going forth, and the moon shall not cause her light to shine. So that gives us the timing, and it's not Zechariah 12. And I will punish the world for their evil and the wickedness of their iniquity, and I will cause the arrogant of the proud, the arrogancy. Okay, that's a word we don't use. We say arrogant, but not arrogancy. Of the that could be a good word though. Of the proud to cease, and will lay low the haughtiness of the terrible. I will make a man more precious than fine gold, and a man than the golden image of Ophir. Therefore, I will shake the heavens, and the earth shall remove out of her place in the wrath of Jehovah of hosts, and in the day of his fierce anger. And it shall be as the chased roe, and as the sheep that no man taketh up. They shall every man turn to his own people, and flee everyone into his own land. Everyone that is found shall be thrust through. Now that could be talking about daughter of Babylon, maybe, but let's read. And every man that shall be thrust through, and everyone that is joined unto them shall fall by the sword. Their children shall be. No, I'm not gonna say Zechariah 12. Their children. I don't go back. No, I don't think we're in Zechariah 12. Um, Everyone that is found shall be thrust through, and everyone that is joined unto them shall fall by the sword. Their children also shall be dashed to pieces before their eyes. This stupid iPad is such a piece of crap. Uh, I gotta find it again. I touched it and it spins all over the place. A junky thing. It's a shameful product, but it does work. I gotta scroll all the way down again. Such garbage, I tell you. All right, what verse was I on? I don't know. I'll find it. And Babylon, the glory of kingdoms, the beauty of the Chaldeans. You see, it's talking about Babylon being destroyed, which does not happen that much down the road. So it looks like something's cooking. So everyone that is found shall be thrust through, and everyone that is joined unto them shall fall by the sword. Their children also shall be. See, it says that the daughter of Babylon is going to do evil in our sight, and they're not going to get away with it. And it also says that he's going to destroy all the nations that he scattered the Israelites into. And that's related with Jacob's trouble in Jeremiah 30, which is Zechariah 12. So America goes, in these days right now. Their children also shall be dashed in pieces. And we read about that happening in America and Babylon, daughter of Babylon, before their eyes. Their house, I believe we're reading it here. Their houses shall be spoiled, and their wives ravished. Behold, I will stir up the Medes against them, which shall not regard as silver. That sounds just like the daughter of Babylon. Now regard silver and gold. Oh, it did it again. I hate this device. I hate it. I just barely touched this thing. Oh, it's such junk. Oh. Oh, let me go back to the other, get it in my other play. Oh, I tell you, my life gets made miserable by this iPad. Okay, over verse 20. It shall never be inhabited for all time. That's daughter of Babylon. For they that enter in it shall many generations. So it does talk about daughter of Babylon in here. And wild beasts shall rest there. Yeah, it's talking about America, daughter of Babylon. Um, all right. So let's go into Isaiah 14 now. This is what I'm going to read now reflects the exact text layer. Um, okay, so this is 14. Jehovah will have mercy on Jacob, that's the 12 tribes, and will still choose Israel. Hey! And they shall rest upon their own land, and the what the heck is this? The gay GEI, the Gore, I don't know what that is. Oh, it's explains the uh, proselytes, the strangers. Okay, the strangers, proselytes, um, shall be added to them. So that's the non-Israelite believers are added to Israel. So, like I keep telling you, if you're a believer, you're in Israel. And shall be added to the house of Jacob. That's in the 12 tribes. Okay. And the nations shall, it says in Ezekiel 47, the last three verses, how you get distributed to the tribes and you get an equal inheritance of the land and you're to be treated as a native born Israeli. It's in Ezekiel 47, the last three verses. Okay. And the nations shall take them and bring them into their place. That's the Israelites, and they shall inherit them. And the house of Israel shall be multiplied upon the land of God for servants and hand. Okay, let's read this again. They shall inherit them. Oh, they become slaves. Okay. And the house of Israel shall be multiplied upon the land of God. That's this land, Israel. For servants and handmaids. Oh, they multiplied too. Okay. Who took them captive shall become captive. So the ones that were doing all this bad stuff to us are now becoming our servants or slaves themselves, and those who ruled over them shall be ruled over. The song of triumph over Babylon. And it shall be in that day, God will give you rest from your sorrow and from your wrath and from your harsh servitude which you served under them. And you shall take up this lamentation against the king of Babylon. You shall say in that day, how has the exactor, that's the oppressor, ceased, that's America, and how has the driver ceased. God has broken the yoke of strangers, that's the yoke on us, the yoke of their rulers, having smitten a nation in wrath with an incurable plague, striking a nation with a plague of wrath, which he did. He rested, having trusted all the earth, cried out with gladness, and even this thing moved, a piece of trash. I gotta find my place. I gotta get where I was. Hold on. We'll go back to verse 7. He rested, having trusted all the earth, cries out with gladness. That's not clear, that verse. And even the trees of the forest rejoice over you, and the cedar of Lebanon, saying, since you have fallen asleep, the one who cuts us down has not come up against us. It's talking about nobody's cutting the trees down or something like that. Now we get into a little bit of a different topic here in verse 9. Hades beneath, that's the dry place, not the lake of fire. Sheol, Hades. Beneath was embittered meeting you. All the giants who ruled the earth, that's from the old days, who were raised up for you, those who raised up from their thrones, all the kings of the nations, that's where they wind up, all shall answer and say to you, have you also been captured just as we were? This is speaking to Satan, I believe. And have you been counted among us? Your glory has come down to Hades, and your great gladness beneath you. They shall spread corruption, and worms shall be your covering. Ugh. So they're living in this place where it's just full of worms. The fall of the morning star. Okay, this is just giving it, put a title in. verse 12. This is Satan down in the pit, is what it is. How has what? Heosphoros? Oh, the morning star. How has the morning star dawn brighter, who rises early, fallen from heaven, he who sent out to all the nations is crushed down to the earth. Satan, it's too good for you. No, it's not. God's punishment's perfect. Forgive me, Lord, B'Shem Yeshua Mashiach. Satan, I look forward to this day for you. Oh, yes. For you said in your heart, I will ascend into heaven. I will set my throne above the stars of heaven. I will sit on a high mountain upon the high mountains towards the north. I will ascend above the clouds. I will be like the Most High. But now you shall go down to Hades and to the foundations of the earth. Those who see you shall marvel at you and shall say, is this the man who provoked the earth, who shook kings, who made the whole inhabited world a wilderness and destroyed the cities and did not release those in captivity? So it sounds like when the Lord says he's going to destroy all the nations he scattered the Israelites into, it looks like it's going to come, at least in part, by wars. And did not release those captives. All the kings of the nations have fallen, those are his servants, fallen asleep in honor, each man in his own house. But you shall be cast out among the mountains like an abomination corpse, with many dead who have been pierced with swords, going down in Hades. Just as a garment defiled with blood is not clean, so neither shall you be clean, because you have destroyed my land, and you have slain my people, and shall not remain for all time, O evil seed. Prepare your children to be slaughtered for the sins of their father, so that they do not rise up and inherit the land and fill the earth with wars. And I will, the wars, I think, is going to destroy the nations. God may do some also, but I think it's definitely a big factor, okay? And I will rise up against them, says Jehovah of Sabbath, and I will destroy their name and their remnant and their seed. Thus says Jehovah of Sabbath. I don't believe it says Sabbath in the text. I'd have to check, but I'm not sure it's there. And I will make Babylon a desert so that hedgehogs dwell there. Hedgehogs can be cute, but okay. And it shall become as nothing, and I will make it a pit of clay for destruction. Now it goes to a prophecy about it. Assyria, not Syria, Assyria. Thus says Jehovah of Shabbat, as I have spoken, so it shall be, and in the manner I have counseled, so it remains, to destroy the Assyrians from my land and from my mountains, and they shall be trodden underfoot, and their yoke shall be taken away from them, and their glory shall be taken away from their shoulders. This is the counsel Let me see where I'm at here. I think it moved to something. Okay, yeah, I think I can pick it up now. To destroy to destroy the Assyrians from my land and from my mountains, and they shall be trodden under foot, and their yoke shall be taken away from them, and their glory shall be taken away from their shoulders. Maybe it means the yoke that they had that they put on other nations. This is the counsel which the Lord counseled upon the whole inhabited world, and this is the hand that is lifted up over all the nations of the inhabited world. For what the holy God has counseled, who shall scatter and his high hand, who shall scatter it, and his high hand, who shall turn it back? In the year that King Ahaz died, this word came to pass. Do not rejoice, all you Philistines, because the yoke of him that smote you is broken. For out of the serpent's seed shall come forth the offspring of asps, and their offspring shall come forth as flying serpents, and the poor shall be fed by him, and poor men shall rest in peace. But he will kill your seed with famine, and your remnant he will destroy. Wail, gates of cities, that's mourning. Let troubled cities cry out, all you Philistines, for smoke comes from the north. There is no prayer to endure, no way to endure. Verse 32. And when will the kings of the nations answer that the Lord has founded Zion, and through him the humble of the people shall be saved? Okay, I can do this. Well, I don't. I have it in another form where it's done by Salkinson. I could try to highlight a few things. Like verse 3, and it shall come to pass in the day that Jehovah shall give thee rest from thy sorrow and from thy fear and from the hard bondage wherewith thou wast made to serve. That's redemption. Then that thou shalt take up this proverb against the king of Babylon, saying, how hath the oppressor ceased, the golden city ceased? That's Washington, D.C., and right now it's Trump. Jehovah hath broken the staff of the wicked and the scepter of the rulers. He who smote the people in wrath with a continual stroke, he, that's Satan, he that ruled the nations in anger, is persecuted, and none hindereth. See, he runs all the nations. When Israel gets out from Satan bots and the democracy to Elijah and Enoch, Satan's going to go nuts because he doesn't have control anymore. But it's not just like, another country. This is Israel. So he'll go nuts. And the whole earth is at rest and is quiet. They break forth into singing. That's when the daughter of Babylon goes down. And a lot of people that live in the daughter of Babylon hate me for talking like this. You got a government that protects all the phony religions. It's illegal to do anything about them, even the Church of Satan, and they think it's a good country, Yea, the fir tree rejoiceth thee, and the cedars of Lebanon. This is a better translation, I think. Saying, since thou art laid down, and no feller is come up against us. A feller is not a fellow. A feller is a tree chopper, a lumberjack, we would say, okay? F-E-L-L-E-R, not a fellow, or something, okay? Hell from beneath is moved for thee to meet thee at thy coming. And this is going to be 70 years later when Satan goes to the pit, when the millennium starts, okay? Silent, what thy coming coming, it stirreth up the mighty dead, even the chief ones of the earth hath raised up from their thrones all the kings of the nations. I don't think they're sitting on thrones with the worms and stuff like that. I think it's kind of a mocking speech, all they shall speak and say unto thee, art thou also become weak as we are? Thou become like unto us. Thy pomp is brought down to the grave. That's arrogancy, and pompous, dressing up or stuff like that. And the noise of thy viols, big violin is a viola. The worm is spread under thee, and the worms cover thee. That's pretty disgusting when you think about it, right? How, yeah, they're weak, so they got to sit down or lay down, and then the worms crawl all over them. How art thou fallen from heaven, O Lucifer, day star, son of the morning? How art thou cut down to the ground, which didst weaken the nations? For thou hast said in thy heart, I will descend unto heaven, and I will exalt my throne above the stars of God. I will sit also upon the mount of congregation in the sides of the north. I will ascend above the heights of the clouds. I will be like the Most High. Yet thou shalt be brought down to hell, to the sides of the pit. They that see thee shall narrowly look upon thee and consider thee, saying, is this the man that made the earth to tremble, that did shake kingdoms, that made the world as a wilderness? And destroyed the cities thereof, that opened not the house of his prisoners. See, he doesn't let people go. All the kings of the nations, even all of them, lie in glory, every one in his own house. I don't know, maybe they do have a house down there. I have no idea. But it's in the pit. I mean, I think it's mockery. I am myself, But thou art cast out of the grave, out of thy grave, like a abominable branch, as the raiment of those that are slain, thrust through with a sword, go down to the stones of the pit, as a carcass trodden underfoot, under feet. Thou shalt not be joined with them in burial, because thou hast destroyed thy land and slain thy people, the seed of evildoers. See, he kills his own people. He doesn't care. Like the Iranian government kills their own people. Shall never be, they're Satan bots, they behave like Satan. Shall never be renowned. Prepare slaughter for his children, for the iniquity of their fathers, that they do not rise, nor possess the land, nor fill the face of the world with cities. For I will rise up against them, yea, saith Jehovah of hosts, cut off from Babylon, the name and remnant and son and nephew, saith Jehovah. I will also make it a possession for the bittern. That's a porcupine. Did you know that? A bittern's a porcupine? May the points of the porcupine penetrate Satan when he's in the pit. I don't know. Maybe I shouldn't say that. God will punish him enough. And pools of water, and I will sweep it with the besom, Besom, got me on that one, of destruction, saith Jehovah of hosts. Jehovah of hosts hath sworn, saying, surely as I have thought, so shall it come to pass. It comes, it all comes. And as I have purposed, so shall it stand. That I will break the Assyrian in my land, and upon my mountains tread him underfoot. Tread him underfoot, then shall his yoke depart from him, from off them. So the yoke is off of the people of Israel, and his burden departed off their shoulders. Yeah. This is the purpose that is purposed upon the whole earth. And this is the hand that is stretched out upon all the nations. For Jehovah of hosts, it's saying Jehovah, but I'm reading it Jehovah. Jehovah of hosts, I could get it to fix that, hath purposed, and who shall disannul it? You can't reverse what Jehovah does. And his hand is stretched out, and who shall turn it back? You can't reverse Jehovah. In the year that King Ahaz died was this burden. Rejoice not thou whole Philistine. Rejoice not thou whole Philistine, I guess would say, Philistines, because the rod of him that smote thee is broken, for out of the serpent's root shall come forth a cockatrice, and his fruit shall be a fiery flying serpent. I've never seen or heard of a flying snake. Maybe they did exist one time, I don't know. Maybe a locust with the tail of a serpent would qualify, right? Okay, maybe. And the firstborn of the poor shall feed, and the needy shall lie down in safety. Amen, amen. And will kill thy root with famine, and shall slay thy remnant. That's the end of the Satan bots. Howl, O gate, cry, O city, thou whole Philistal, it's the Philistine, art thou dissolved? For there shall, that's Gaza, for there shall come from the north a smoke, and none shall be alone in his appointed times. What shall one then answer the messenger of the nation, that Jehovah hath founded Zion, or Zion, and the poor of his people shall trust in it. There we go. I like that one better, that translation. So I hope you enjoyed this. Maybe what I'll just be doing is, since I don't know how I can do a whole translation yet, you've been praying and I may get the answer, but I can certainly do Bible studies this way and open up the scriptures to you that way. So we got something to work with, and we just got to pray about a translation. I think he'll show us how to get it done, but I think you should definitely do that spiritual warfare I spoke of, and let's see if we can knock this government out. And they're the ones that are stopping you from immigrating. You could immigrate to just about every country in the world. They have immigration. You go there, you apply for temporary residency, and you show them, maybe they want to see a criminal record, they might want to see that you have money. They have a right for that. And then they give you a temporary residency, and then after a few years of that, they make it a permanent residency. You could stay there forever. In other cases, you could apply for a citizenship. But Israel has nothing. There's nothing. So that would change, and you'd be able to come here. Okay? So it's got to happen. All right? So I task you with the spiritual warfare and the prayer warfare that I put in earlier, and I'll keep working on these translations and keep trying to get it better and better. There might be a way I could have it did it two ways, and I might be able to have it combined both ways. We'll see what that looks like. Okay. We've been going a long time, I think. Okay, let me get a prayer out for us. My Heavenly Father, Jehovah, B'Shem, Yeshua, Mashiach, I pray for me and my wife and all the true believers in our households, that we would have your strength, stamina, and endurance from you, and we would have your healing and recuperative power flowing through our bodies, healing as needed, and for ourselves and our animals and pets will be safe and secure and happy, healthy, and whole. And I pray for the peace of Jerusalem. I pray this government be gone. It's not a righteous government. It's a horribly corrupt, terrible government. And I pray you remove it. Let it be the first non-Satan, godly government in the world. First of many others. If possible, that would happen. I don't know, maybe it'll never happen. And I pray for those of us that need a place to live, that we find a good place to live with a good deal. Pray for those of us that need a job or clients and customers for our business, that we find them. And such things. Ugh. I pray that we all have adequate money and then some extra. And I pray that we have more faith and more wisdom and more gifts of the Spirit. And I pray we understand the scriptures better and that we read the scriptures every day and that we pray every day and we do the spiritual warfare. B'Shem Yeshua HaMashiach, and you as a believer can agree with that. You know, it says, Mark 16, verse 17, these signs shall follow them that believe in my name, they shall cast out devils. Well, there you have it, you know. Okay, I send my, let's do some spiritual warfare, sorry. B'Shem Yeshua HaMashiach, for me and my wife and all the true believers and our families and households, I loose off of any and all of us any witchcraft or sorcery. It's all gone forever, never return, and it may never be used again in the same or similar way by any other unclean spirit or people serving unclean spirits. B'Shem Yeshua HaMashiach. And I also, for this same group of people, loose off of or out of any person that has an unclean spirit. I loose it out of the unclean spirit. Now, the unclean spirit has to come out of them now, never return unto them again, ever. B'Shem Yeshua HaMashiach. And you can agree with these things too, if you're a true believer. I hope you're enjoying this. I need to hear from you if you want me to do something different. And the offerings are way down. I hope that sinks in. And I send my Shabbat Shalom to all those who love Yeshua HaMashiach, and I'm out.